This tutorial is designed to assist in the completion of the online Neighborly Emergency Rental Assistance application for qualifying clients who've been referred by an approved community service provider. In order to complete this application, you're going to need the following: access to an email account, documents including color photo IDs for all the household members, a copy of your lease, a current rent ledger or account statement, proof of occupancy such as a utility bill, a referral letter from your community service provider, and if applicable, an eviction notice from the sheriff's office. You also need your landlord's name, email, and phone number, the collective household annual income for all residents over the age of 18, the full name and date of birth for each member of the household, employment details for household members 18 and over, including name of employer, address, phone number, and start date. If you're facing eviction, we'll need your court case number along with the legal aid attorney name and email if you have one, as well as your community service provider's name, email, and phone number. Please note you can add any missing documents later, but you must upload all of these before the application is submitted for processing. In addition, if you can, save these documents onto your device as PDFs in advance. This will save you time during the application process. Folks with less computer experience sometimes find preparing documents for uploading challenging. If you do, consider asking a tech-savvy friend or a household member for help. We recommend you gather everything you can and complete all the sections you are able to. As long as you save the application but don't submit it, you can come back later and add documents, complete sections, or make other edits. As a reminder, to be eligible for this program, you must be a Jefferson County resident. You must be facing eviction or experiencing housing instability. You must be at or below the 80% AMI income requirement. We have a chart we'll share. You must be able to attest to COVID's negative impact on the household's finances. And you must not have maxed out the 12 months of back and 6 months of future rent paid by the ERAP-funded programs. First, you're going to open up a web browser and go to the application website. You can get there using tinyurl.com/ERAAPP2023. That's tinyurl.com/ERAAPP2023. To start or access an application, you'll need to register by your email. If you've already created a Neighborly account, you'll just sign in using that option by typing in your email and your Neighborly password. However, new users must first register their account before signing into the portal. We'll walk you through that process. Click Register. Put in your email address and click Send Verification Code. Then go to your email account and hopefully find an email. It'll likely be from Microsoft on behalf of Neighborly. And there it is. Open the email, copy your code, and paste it into the Neighborly application. Now you'll fill in the name fields We're making up a applicant here named Marge Simpson. And we're just going to let our computer create a password. Passwords should be at least 12 characters long, contain uppercase and lowercase letters, and a number and a special character. Let's see if this auto-generated one works. It does. Oh, what happened? What happened? Okay. Let's try to get back in there. Oops. Well, I'm just having a terrible time. We'll come back in. Sign in. So here we go. We're going to go to the policy terms here. That'll allow us to start an application. So now that we're on the dashboard of the home page, we're going to click on the blue area, Start an Application, to begin a new application. If you had already started an application, you would have the option to click View Application there, and that would allow you to go in and make updates. The first thing it's asking us to do is to name the application using our last name, comma, first name. And then click Start Application. And the box saying click here to continue pops up. But before we click that, we're going to go over here and click View Users. And we're going to add our community service provider as a user here. So if you have that email address, go ahead and type that in. I'm using the support at Louisville only as an example. Clicking Add. And that way they're included on my application. And this ensures that both you and your CSP receive any updates or requests for additional information from the Office of Housing as they work with you to complete this application. Note that there are 10 sections to the application: program eligibility, A through H, and the certifications and submit section. You can see them all listed here. By the time you are finished, all the boxes next to the list will be checked off. Once you get started, our advice is to take your time, watch for typos, and keep saving your work as you go. So we're going to click on the first item on this list to get rolling here, the program overview. We'd encourage you to please read over this program introduction, paying close attention to the eligibility criteria for tenants. It reviews program requirements in detail, as well as info on where to go with any questions. You don't really need to spend any time with the eligibility requirement for a landlord. Once you review that basic information, you'll just want to click Complete and Continue, which takes you to the next section of your application, eligibility. As long as it's still 2023, you're going to choose the option yes to the first question. And then A2 asks, what agency is helping you with this application? This refers to the community service provider who provided you with access to this application. It's a drop-down menu with 4 options. You can choose the best answer here. Many of us will choose other and need to type in then the name of our community service provider agency. For this purpose, I'm going to show that to be the Association of Community Ministries and list myself as the caseworker, just so you can see. So caseworker is synonymous with our community service provider here. So they're also asking for that phone number. And an email address. If any of this is something you don't have, please just use a placeholder for now or leave it blank, understanding you will need to come in and fill out later. A7 asks, are you currently under eviction with a court case pending? This you'll answer yes or no depending on your circumstances. If you answer yes, an additional field appears asking for the case number that appears at the top of the court-generated eviction notice, also known as a forcible detainer complaint. This is a document that would be often left on the front door. The numbering in that corner is your case number. In this case, we're going to say they are facing eviction, and we'll put in a placeholder number here for now using their basic format. Then we go on to A8, which asks, are you a resident of Jefferson County? Only Jefferson County residents are able to apply, so if your answer is no, you are not going to be able to move forward with this application. Marge's answer is yes. And then we go to A9, which asks, are you participating in the pre-filing mediation program? This is a special program of mediation between the landlord and the tenant. If you are participating in this program with the restorative practices group, you'll be very aware of it. Most of us looking at this video are not going to be participating in that program, and I'll answer no. And that is the last question in this section. Since we were able to answer everything here, we're going to press complete and continue. If we were not able to, we might just choose to save that part of the application until we're ready to close it. So complete and continue. And if we did everything right, it should take us to the next section, which it did. So this is the section B, applicant information. And so here's where we're going to fill in all of our basic contact information and the such. So we'll fill in B1 through 6 with the primary applicant, most cases your last and first name, your home address, your mailing address, if by any chance it's different, that's going to be exceptional, your phone number, and your email. So let's just go through that and fill in these blanks because the application sure likes us to finish it up. Add an address here. Oh, it's so trying to help me. And then the Marge does not have additional mailing address, so we'll skip that. We'll put in her phone number. Just making this up, folks. And an email address. And next is the opportunity to include an emergency contact. If there's someone that you'd like us to reach out to in case we can't reach you, in this case we'll use Marge's sister Patty. This is a place to provide that information. We got a place for a name and a phone number here. So then we come up to section, our area, the top again, B9 and B10, which is a co-applicant. If your lease includes more than your name on it, this would be a good place to include that individual. You could also include your spouse here, but it is not necessary information to provide. Once completed, go to B14, which asks, are you represented by a legal aid? Are you represented by an attorney from legal aid or elsewhere? So in this case, if you are facing eviction and have representation, you choose yes. And then it's going to open up two more fields, B15 and 16, asking for your attorney's name and their email address. Now, this is a drop-down that if you're already working with legal aid, lists many of their attorneys, so you could choose from the drop-down. Or if it's someone else, you could list, go with other and type in their name in this next spot here So for example, Marge is working with Lionel, and so she has to fill him in here using the other option. A lot of folks will be working with legal aid, and they'll find their names and email addresses right here. If you've got these sections completed, we can go ahead and choose the complete and continue option to go to the next section, which is the household members, right? This section needs to be completed with the full name, date of birth, employment details, and demographics for every member of your household, starting with yourself. So we'll click where it says click here to add a household member. And you'll notice that this section is designated with the blue number 1 and marked primary household member. So here you'll fill in the fields for the first, middle, and last names, date of birth, and the last 4 digits of Social Security number. Let's see here. Just making some stuff up here. You can put zeros in, just include the last 4 of the social on the primary household member only. You can fill in zeros for every other Social Security number on this application. If the primary household member is unemployed, check here. But if you're employed, you'll have to click here to add employers where you'll list employer information. This is required for all members of your household 18 or older. So in this case, Marge is working for the Springfield nonprofit. And we'll fill in an address here. And let's see. Let's say that she started in 2016. And her work phone number. Just making up some numbers here, folks. Of course, this is in Louisville. If she had multiple employers, now we would click here to add another employer, but Marge is not working anywhere else. And this takes us to the next step of the household members, which is to fill in some information about demographics. These are all drop downs, and they do include an option not to answer in most cases. The first demographic is, of course, the relationship to head of household. In this case, of course, it is the head of household, Marge. And then it asked for some other questions here that we can answer about demographics. All are drop-down options. Once you complete those, you'll want to do the same steps for each additional member of the household. So this section can take a few minutes depending on how many folks live in your household. But we'll just keep going here because this information will help us later. Because it autofills some stuff for us. So let's see. Oh, made a little mistake there, but we got it. Just filling in the zeros for Social Security. And continuing to fill in. Homer is working, so we're going to click here to add employer. And he's at the power plant, of course. And it's asking for all this information. The employer's address. And here we go. And it wants to know a start date. I'm going to say 04/1/1990. Oh, we did something there. There we go. That is Homer's only employee. employer, right? So we're just going to leave that blank. If you had multiple employers, we'd click there to add that information as well. I'm going to go through the demographics again. Homer has another adult that's over 18, and just answering these. And then click here to add another household member. In this case, we could add the 3 children in the household. We'll skip that just for time, but if you definitely want to include information for each member of your household, and to fill out the demographics here, you'll answer child under 18 if it's your child. If it's another adult, you can have this option. Click here for your children that are not bringing income into the household. And then once you have everyone filled out in these sections here, you'll go ahead and finally click on the complete and continue. Oh, look, I've left something off here. I need to get rid of this extra member because I didn't fill in details. There we go. And that should complete the household members and take us to Section D, Income Verification. There are 3 options for completing the income verification section of this application. Option 1 is fairly simple. It does require that you filed your 2020 tax return using a Form 1040 and that you have access to that document. Option 2 requires no supporting documentation. It is a simple self-attestation, and we recommend using that if you can. For option 3, it's the most complicated as it requires income details and corresponding supporting documentation for all income sources for each household member. So you can see why option 2, which requires no supporting documentation, might be the preferred method here. But we can walk through each one of those options. Here we are choosing between 1, 2, and 3. If I choose 1, we're going to say that their combined household income is, watch your decimal points, is $62,000, $250. And we are going to upload their 2020 tax return to document that. And so this fills in with the total amount, and option 1 is completed. Now at this point you could check this against your program overview to make sure that their AMI is within the eligibility, and we will do that when we finish here. So let's look at if we choose option 2 instead. Option 2, we're just filling in the amount, which is left over from when we filled in option 1 right now, and simply pressing complete and continue. Very, very easy. If you choose option 3, that's where it gets much more complicated. You'll see it begins to pre-fill the household members who we listed as being employed, and then we will need to fill in the income details for each one of them. So for example, if Marge, we were to want to show her gross pay income, we'd have the opportunity to say anything additional about that, fill in the amount, and then it lets us know what required documentation we need to upload. In this case, 2 months of her most recent pay stubs and tax returns. If there are multiple income sources, we simply click to add another source of income. In this case, let's just say there was a pension, for example. We'd fill in the amount, and it lets us know that we need to upload a pension award letter. We are going to go with option 2 for Marge, but if you go with number 3, you just repeat that process for every income earner in the household. And so we are pressing complete and continue, and it's taking us to the next section of the application, section E, which is our COVID-19 impact. As mentioned, to be eligible for this program, you must have had your income or your housing stability negatively impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. Now, when responding to this question, you should consider the peak of COVID's impact dating as far back as spring of 2020 as you consider your answers, because that crisis continues to impact our financial and housing stability today. To be eligible, you will need to be able to answer yes to E1. Has the leaseholder or other members of the leaseholder household lost income or experienced increased expenses due to the COVID-19 pandemic? In this case, Marge knows that she lost income, she lost work hours because her children were out of school, and there were additional expenses that came out of trying to protect her family's health from cleaning supplies, masks, etc. So she answers yes. And then we look at section E2 here. We want to read through this list and check everything that applies to our household. In this case, we'll go through the list and see what applies here. Have you been laid off temporarily or permanently? Have you had work hours reduced? Were you about to start a new job but could not, or were terminated from a new job before establishing sufficient work history to be eligible for regular benefits? Are you self-employed and their business no longer supplying them with income, or such income has been reduced? Are independent contractors or gig workers who have not been able to earn fees or whose fees have been reduced? Or have become sick themselves or have been advised by a governmental or medical professional to self-quarantine? Have had to leave a job or reduce hours in order to care for a person who is sick? Have had to leave a job or reduce hours to care for dependents whose ordinary situations, such as school or daycare, have been disrupted? Have reasonable concern over the risk of infection at work for themselves or someone in their household? Had an unexpected COVID-related medical or funeral expense? Excuse the typo. I am eligible to or have already received pandemic unemployment benefits during the period of time after March 24th of 2020. And finally, have other conditions resulting in loss or income due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please describe below. And there's a field here that you could describe below if you check the last box. Marge's household was able to check a few of these boxes. And there's her answers. And so we can complete and continue and go to the next section. Excuse me. In this section, details on past due rent and landlord contact information are collected. F1 asks for your current monthly rent. The Simpsons pay $13.50. When was the last time you paid rent? It is F2. For this household, we're going to say July of 2023. And then what is the total past due at this time? In which case, we're going to say $41.50. And then we need to complete questions F4 through F6 regarding landlord's name and contact information. This is very important information to include. There will be an attempt to reach out to your landlord, and so this contact information is essential. If you do not have any of this, you can leave it blank or put in a placeholder for now, but you will want to go back and get this information before submitting your application. So we're filling this in and getting this part done. Whoops, made that mistake a couple of times. just filling it in there. Oops, got to get an email address in there for her landlord. There we go. Without an email address in here, that's going to give us an alert. But since we did put an email address in, we can complete and continue. And if all went fine, that should take us to the next section, G, prior assistance received. This section asks a few questions about any past assistance you may have received from the various emergency rental assistance programs that have been serving Louisvillians since 2020, as well as any current pending applications. G1 asks you to choose from a drop-down menu responding to in 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2023, has your household received rental assistance from any of the following? Neighborhood Place, you did not receive prior assistance. LRAN, any other nonprofit agency, the Court Eviction Diversion Program, the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Program, or the Area Community Ministries. If you've not received past rental assistance, choose Did Not Receive Prior Assistance from the drop-down menu and disregard the remaining questions in this section. You can just scroll to the bottom of the page and click on Complete and Continue. However, if you have received assistance, and we'll say that Marge has, and that she got it from the Area Community Ministries, fill in that information. If you were to choose, need to choose any other nonprofit agency, then just fill in the name of that agency here. Going back, here we go. And then it asks if, yes, if you did receive, was it for the same address you're applying for now? If you answer yes, you just move on. If you answer no, it will ask you to list that previous address. Marge's answer was yes, and that takes us to G2, which asks to please list any other agencies where you have a pending application for rental assistance that hasn't been approved yet. For example, if you've already applied at the Neighborhood Place, you'll just go ahead and list which location you applied for here. If you have any open or pending applications, just list the agency or the organization in the field below. That takes us to G3, which asks, has anyone in your household applied for or received any rental and or utility assistance from any source, local, state, federal, or private, for the months you are applying to this program, for the very same months that you're asking for support now? If you answer yes, it will give you the opportunity to upload documents about that housing assistance, such as award letters or copies of checks. If you answer no, then you move on. Once you've completed that part, we go back to the Complete and Continue button to move to the next section of the application. This is the section where we are uploading the required documents we talked about earlier. Having these already uploaded on your device and saved as PDFs comes in particularly handy now. This section is kind of detail specific. For example, all documents must be legible and should be loaded into Neighborly as PDFs. Screenshots should be converted to PDFs and include all relevant information. Multiple page documents such as ledgers or leases should be uploaded as a single document. And then we want to note that you can use the Other Documents upload option at the bottom of the page for any additional items such as a landlord non-participation form. So we can review these as we go through the upload process, which is very simple. Photo IDs, you'll need a copy of a government-issued ID for each household member ages 18 or up. Examples include a driver's license, a passport, state ID, military, student, or work IDs. These IDs do not need to include the applicant's current address or an address at all. They are being used to verify identity, not address, or not residency. So you can combine these all into one document, or after uploading the first one, you'll see the option to add another file appears. Let's just go through that. You simply click Upload File. I have all of Marge's documents in a folder here. Here's one ID. Click ID. And then if I had another file, say Homer's is in a separate folder or file, we would click Add Another and go through that same process. We also need to upload a lease. Leases are normally like multi-page documents, so we just want to make sure that we're combining them. You can also upload into this section any addendums, notices, or letters documenting rent increases, or something like a letter indicating a change to month status. We'd also want to note that a past due balance letter can be used in place of a lease so long as it lists the applicant's name and address and is verified with a landlord's signature and is on a letterhead. So we just press Upload File. We have the lease ready to go here and upload it. And if we had another document, it's ready to go. We just go through that process for each document. Next one's a ledger. Ledger is a detailed account statement with your landlord. Ledgers shouldn't be more than 30 days old at the time they are uploaded. They need to document the account back to a time of either a zero or a positive balance, and they've got to document all the expenses that you're looking for help with. That's all outstanding rent, occupancy fees, utilities, late fees, etc. should all be detailed on the ledger. If it's multiple documents, once again, you can choose Add Another File. And then the next that we're asking for here is your proof of occupancy. This needs to be a piece of official mail that is addressed to the applicant, has the same home address as listed on this application in Section B, line 3. It must be dated within 30 days of its upload to this application. A good example would be a utility bill, a medical bill, some form of government correspondence like from SNAP or IRS or SSI. In case you can't find any of that, some other dated first-class mail from an established entity could be substituted. Here's where we'll also upload the referral letter. This is going to be provided to you by your community service provider, and they'll probably be uploading this on your behalf. And then if you are facing eviction and have one of those notices that we were talking about now, the forcible detainer, you would upload a copy of that here. Let's just go ahead and continue our process. And I got one. And upload. And just continue on to the next one. W-9 you do not have to complete, but if your landlord is not cooperating with the application process, you could save time by going ahead and including a signed W-9 with your application. There's even a link right here to download a copy. But these last three are not required for you to complete your application. The settlement agreement can be taken care of later. And then you have that final option of other documents should you need to upload anything else. As a reminder, you should not submit the application until you have uploaded all the required documents. If this section is fully complete, you can go ahead and click Complete and Continue and go to the final section. And this is the certifications and the submit. At this point, you're almost done. In this section, you will review and sign off on all the general terms, conditions, and permissions for this application. Once read and if found agreeable, go ahead and press click here to electronically sign simply by typing your name. And sign. If you've completed all the sections and uploaded all the documents, then all the little boxes on the left will have their little green check marks. In this case, you may be ready to submit the application by clicking Complete and Submit right here. If so, congratulations. However, if you have missing information or documents, then choose the Save option so you or your CSP can come back later. If you have clicked Complete and Continue on a section but need to update it later, simply click the Reopen button at the bottom of that page. Before leaving the site, use the Print an Application button in the upper left-hand corner here to print a copy or save it to your device. A few final words. After starting an application, you'll want to complete it as soon as possible, ideally within a week or two, so please be as proactive as possible. Remember, you'll receive confirmation emails and possibly requests for additional information and updates on the application from Neighborly and or your CSP. We recommend checking your spam folder in case these emails end up there. Once the application has been submitted, the system does not allow for any changes. If an application is submitted before it's completed or needs to be updated after being submitted, you may email evictiondiversion@louisvillekentucky.gov, that's evictiondiversion@louisvillekentucky.gov, and request the application be reopened. Please include the Neighborly application ID number when making that request. We hope this is helpful and that you have a successful experience completing and submitting your application for assistance. Remember, if you have any additional questions, to reach out to your community service provider.